This man is drunk. Wait, am I drunk? I'm nobody. Yes, you do have a problem. God's got this. No, I got this. You're stupid. You're dumb. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. I'm a leader. I am Marcus J. Scott. I'm Marcus J. Scott, author of The Drunken Preacher, here to encourage critical thinking, social awareness, advocate growth, resilience, provide hope, and help you find faith. Welcome to another edition of The Drunken Preacher Podcast. Yeah, we getting it in. I'm Marcus J. Scott, and I'm excited to be here on this early Monday morning. Man, I tell you, last week I talked about getting back up, getting on track. Man, got to get back on. You know, sometimes we fall down and we just got to get back into the rhythm and get back to that consistency. But that brought me to today. I want to talk about the hardest part of success is the silence. Yeah, the hardest part of success is the silence. What do I mean by that? Everybody wants to clap with the wins, but nobody wants to talk about the wait. Let me say that again. Everybody wants to clap for the wins. We talk about the wins, we clap for the wins. That's what everybody's always hyped about, but nobody wants to talk about the wait. And so today we're going to get into talking about the wait. You know, everybody loves success stories, but nobody talks about the seasons where nothing seems to be happening. Or in my case, sometimes even going backwards. Yeah, how often do we plan stuff and we can see everything? Oh yeah, this is going to go great. But what happens when it gets dark? What happens when it goes backwards? What happens when there's the struggle? Nobody wants to talk about the wait. And so today we're going to get into talking about the dark times. We're going to get into talking about the wait. We're going to get into talking about the silence, because nobody sees the silence. Nobody sees the dark moments. Nobody sees the behind the scenes. And so frustration of invisible progress is the first thing that I want to talk about. Yeah, the frustration of invisible progress. You know, this whole time that I've been going through and talking about where God is taking me right now, I gave a small portion in my book, The Drunken Preacher, about what I was going through within, the struggles that I had within, the things that I was going through, my depression, my drinking, making bad decisions. Because here's the thing. Everybody talks about the bad decisions as, or looks at them as, they're not going to be nothing. It's not going to happen. What they thought was going to happen, clearly is not. But when people see the end result, they say, I want what they have. I want the success that they have. I want the money that they have. But they didn't see all the struggles. They didn't see the pain. They didn't see the night or the nights I had in the jail cell. They didn't see the depression, the nights I had nightmares, times where I woke up with scratches on my body, times where I couldn't sleep, times where I asked God to not allow me to wake up, times where I didn't want to live. But everybody wants to clap and talk about the success. Everybody wants to say, oh, I wish I had what they had. I wish I had the car that they had. I wish I was in the house that they have. I wish I had the money that they have. But nobody wants to talk about the frustration during the dark times. And even when we get back on track, talking about the progress, as I begin this journey and begin to grow, I've still had some times where I'll take this right here. There's probably not a lot of people up right now as I'm doing the video. Nobody sees me getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody sees me praying at 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody sees me other than when I post the exercise or the jogging or the praying or talking to God at 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody sees the speaking and the preaching and talking to people and the book signings. But nobody wants to talk about or see or know what it takes to get to that level of success. Working hard with little return. I can remember when I first started posting stuff and I was getting like 1-2 views. I mean, here it is. I've been doing this thing now 3.5 years. The podcast has been, we started, I think we started 2025, but just posting consistently on the internet in general, I've been doing it for like 3.5 years. Starting out with 2 views, 5 views. And so when I talk about getting paid from the internet now, when I talk about getting paid from views now, when I talk about getting the check now, everybody's eyes light up. But nobody saw the frustration I had with 2 views, 3 views, 1 like, 2 likes. Nobody's responding to my messages. Nobody's putting anything in the comments. And to be honest, there's sometimes when people are still not putting things in the comments. So just if you're watching this, put something in the comment and say you that you're listening to me. Put something in the comments saying that you know about the frustration when it's quiet. The quiet times when you feel like you're making progress, but it don't seem like it. And so that could be very frustrating. As I begin to grow now, my business and the things that I'm doing, even in growing in ministry, I feel like it's very, very small steps and sometimes even taking backwards. Just yesterday, I had an incident that happened to me and I about lost it because I'm like, all this hard work that I've been trying to do, and I'm trying to do it for the kingdom. I'm doing it for God and God's people. And it seems like I'm going backwards. That's frustrating. So I want to ask you, are you doing something that you believe you're moving in the right direction, but it feels frustrating? Yeah, it feels frustrating. You're getting up, you're praying, you're asking God to give you wisdom, you're asking God to give you a job, you're asking God to give you an insight, you're asking God to give you a marriage, a great marriage, a companion. You're asking God for all this stuff, and it's silent. It doesn't seem like anything's working. And so how about that frustration of the invisible progress? It doesn't look like you're moving. Yeah, it doesn't look like you ever sat at a red light and you're just sitting there, you're like, man, when is it going to change green? Man, this light taking long. And you just want to run the red light. Yeah, sometimes God has us sitting at a red light and that red light is taking a little bit longer than we want it to. I remember in driving my slingshot one time and I'm sitting at a red light. And I was like, you know what? And it was one of the ones that I know are long. And as I'm sitting there, my light turned green. And I wanted to go, but I didn't go right away. For some odd reason, I didn't go. And here comes a semi truck driving, ran their red light. And had I gone, I would have been dead. Sometime God has us at a red light because he knows what's happening. He knows what's going in the intersection. And it's not good for us. And if we were to enter the intersection, if he would have changed the light to a green light, it might be catastrophic. Sometimes God allows a red light or a stop sign or a door to be closed because we're not prepared, we're not ready. Something could be catastrophic. And so I know it can be frustrating, but God is saying, I'm going to get you there. And so we have to be willing to lean on God during those frustrating times. We got to tell him, God, I'm frustrated. but you're going to have to help me. And I'm leaning on you. Not only can you have frustration during invisible times, but also comparison will kill your momentum. Yeah, let me say that again. Comparison will kill your momentum. This is one of the things I often have trouble with. Often, yeah. That is, if I'm moving in a direction and I see somebody that I look up to or that's next to me that's moving in the same direction, same industry, whether it be speaking, real estate, teaching, preaching, no matter what. And I look over to my left or my right, and it seems as though they're more successful or doing it better than I am. That can kill momentum. I had to ask God to help me to not look at other people. My timeline is not their timeline. Your timeline is not my timeline. Somebody else's timeline is not your timeline. And I had to begin to think for a moment, just take speaking for a moment. Here it is. I'm comparing my speaking and my preaching to great preachers and speakers, people who've been doing it more than 20 years. And I just started. Who are you comparing yourself to? You just started your business. You've had your business for a year, and you're comparing yourself to people who've been doing it 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Comparison will kill your momentum. You can't compare your timeline to somebody else's timeline. You can't compare somebody else's success to your success. You can't compare somebody else's marriage to your marriage. You can't compare somebody else's relationship to your relationship. They may look like they got a great relationship, but how long have they been going through it? Or how about this? I tell people this all the time. You only see the smiles and the happy things on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but you don't see the fight they had 10 minutes before the post or the picture. You don't see the almost breakup after the picture, but you see the nice beach and the selfie and laying on the beach or the nice house or the nice car, but you don't see what's behind the scene. Why? Because you're comparing from what you see. You know, the saying goes, the grass always looks greener on the other side. And it might be greener. What you don't see is they might have a much higher water bill than you do. How about that? How about they may pay a whole lot more for lawn maintenance? And yet you're looking at their grass and seeing how green it is, but you're not looking at them getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not looking at them paying lawn maintenance. You're not looking at their water bill. Okay, let me help you out. You're comparing yourself to whatever you do in your industry and how far people are, and you're not seeing the sacrifices that they're making. We see Michael Jordan and LeBron James and the Kobe Bryants and those who are spectacular, the Tom Brady's and all these great people, these great athletes, but we don't see how they're eating, how they're taking care of their body. We don't see the early mornings, the 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the mornings that they're up studying. We don't see the exercising. We don't see the tough times that they're putting in. We don't even see the times that they're missing from their families, their kids, in order to be that great. And yet we're comparing ourselves to those that we see, that we say, why can't I be like that? Why isn't mine like that? How did they get it by the age of 35? How did they get it by the age of 40? How did they get it by the age of 50? But you don't see what they're doing behind the scenes. And so we have to stop comparing, because it will definitely kill our momentum. And so here is the spiritual message. Here is the thing that I want to bring to your attention. Habakkuk 2:3 says, though it tarry, wait for it. Yeah, though it tarry, wait for it. And so just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. Yeah, let me say that again. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. And a lot of us, we focus on the waiting period and we get so frustrated because we can't see how we're going to get to the end. I often say this. One of my mentors tell me like this: small steps, great distances. And so sometimes we can only see the next step. Yeah, sometimes we can only see the next step. Here it is. Abraham finally gets a son and God says, sacrifice your only son. Your only son. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know if God going to have a ram in the bush. He didn't know it. He had to just go. And a lot of times we're trying to figure it out before we even start. Well, Lord, I heard you, but what about this? What about that? And God is just saying, take the first step. Again, just yesterday, I'm going through something. I'm frustrated. And I'm like, God, I thought, you wanted me to take this step. And it's not looking so good. It's really like, man, I thought I was doing what God told me to do. And in the middle of my frustration, God says, well, whether I told you to do it or not, aren't you supposed to be trusting in me? And so I told you to make the first step. I told you to make the second step. And so I have to trust God, even though I can't see the end, even though I'm not sure how it's going to end up, even though I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but I have to trust God. And so I'm telling you, you got to trust God. You got to trust God for the next step. You got to trust God for the next moment. You got to trust God for the next day. You got to trust God for that next situation. I know you don't have no money in the bank. I know the credit score is not that good right now. I know the relationship is tough. I know that it's hard where you are now because some past decisions that you've made. But God is saying to you today, you got to trust me. You have to trust me. And if you're listening to me, I'm letting you know right now, God is telling you, you got to trust him. You have to trust God that he'll take care. The problem is we try to do stuff in order to help God out, and that's really what messes it up. Yeah, that's really what messes it up. We try to do stuff to help God out, and that's what really messes it up. God is saying, wait. God is saying, trust me. God is saying, lean on me. And we're so frustrated and trying to figure it out that we make the move before God wants to move. We make the move first because we're frustrated with the waiting period. And God is saying to you, you got to trust me. Trust me. Just take the next step and trust me. And so I'm going to close with this. Your waiting season is not wasted. Yeah, your waiting season is not wasted. The silent doesn't mean God forgot. And the lack of applause doesn't mean you're losing. Just because you don't hear applause, just because you don't hear anything, just because there's silence doesn't mean that you're losing. So keep building, keep praying, keep showing up. And one day, the thing you almost quit, will become the thing that changes your life. So don't quit. Don't give up. Keep pushing forward. It is worth the wait. All right. That's my time for today. Hey, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like Marcus J. Scott 4040. Marcus J. Scott 40. Make sure you share it with a friend. Make sure you share it with a family member. If this has been a blessing to you, make sure you tell somebody, share it, and we'll see you next time. Remember, always have a heart of gratitude and the strength to keep moving forward. God bless you.
It's your time. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. The drunken preacher. Yeah. The drunken preacher. Yeah. It's your time. It's your time. The drunken preacher. The drunken preacher. The drunken preacher. The drunken preacher. The drunken preacher.